With the recent surge in 3D printer technology in the last 5 years or so, millions of people have taken up 3D printing as a fulfilling and enjoyable hobby. And most of the people who do 3D printing have never created their own design. They simply rely on the designs that other people have created. But if you want to shift from consumer to creator, then I'm here to tell you that you can do that. And by the end of this video, you'll have a clear path forward to how you can begin creating your own designs, and you'll feel confident and capable that you can succeed. My name is Josh, and this is Engineering a Better Education. First of all, I want to tell you that becoming a creator is so much fun. A lot of times in our world today, it's easy to just consume content and to consume things that other people have created. And after a while, starts to feel a little less fulfilling, only to consume and to not create. I have a friend that's a professional coach, and I was talking to him recently, and I learned one of his frameworks that teaches that the opposite of a victim is a creator. Or in other words, the way to go from feeling powerless is to become a creator, where you begin to feel empowered. And I've learned in the past few weeks a lot about the power of being a creator. It really allows you to take control of your life and brings a lot of joy and excitement into life. So I would highly encourage you, if you've just been consuming content and consuming creations that other people have made all this time, I would highly encourage you to begin creating your own designs as a hobbyist, as a 3D printer. And even if you don't own your own 3D printer, creating 3D models or CAD, computer aided design, is a very fulfilling and enjoyable hobby. And the best part is you don't need to spend any money to get into this hobby. You don't need to buy an expensive CAD software. You don't need to get an engineering degree from a university, and you don't need to buy an expensive CAD course. And you also don't need to get lost spending hours in all of the YouTube videos that teach CAD. It can be really overwhelming. There are millions of resources out there that can teach you, but I'm going to give you a very simple, straightforward path that you can begin today to creating your first design. So let's hop over to the computer and we'll get started. I'm going to walk you through in real time creating a design so you can see how I would do it. And this is going to be really real, really raw. So I hope you enjoy it. And let's get over to the computer. All right, let's open up our web browser. And the very first thing you need to do this today, is download and install your CAD software. There are several CAD softwares available, and I don't want to overwhelm you. I'm going to tell you which one to start with. If this is your first time, I would recommend Autodesk Fusion. This is one that I'm really familiar with. There are two that I've used extensively, SolidWorks and Autodesk Fusion. Autodesk Fusion I would recommend because it has a great free license. Anyone who's a hobbyist can get started for free. It's a really powerful CAD software, and I think it's fairly beginner friendly and easy to use. So it's created by Autodesk. You can just search up Autodesk Fusion. There's a little pop-up right here. We'll exit out of that. And you're just going to go download Fusion for free. And if you are a student or an educator, you qualify for an upgraded license that's also free. So if you are a student or educator, I'd recommend that you use that license right there. And if you're not, then anybody qualifies for this hobbyist and non-commercial use license. And it has a few limitations compared to the paid license, but they are not anything that's going to get in your way as a hobbyist. Honestly, you can do everything that you need to do as a hobbyist with this license. So you click Access Limited Version. And it says limited, but like I said, you pretty much get all the functionality that you would need. Oh, I got the pop-up again. No thanks, decline offer. And right here, you click Get Autodesk Fusion for personal use, and you're just going to create an account, and you'll be able to get the product, get it downloaded. I've already done that, so I'm not going to bore you. I'm not going to walk through that. But what I would recommend next, after you've downloaded and installed and opened up Autodesk Fusion, is go to your favorite 3D printing site. And I'm just going to use MakerWorld as an example. But you're going to go to your favorite website and just scroll through the popular trending designs and find one that you want to recreate yourself. And if this is your first time, look for something that looks very simple, something that looks easy. I like this right here, decorative F1 logo. This seems like something we could create together right now. And also, I'm going to come back a little bit. Keep in mind that some things are not going to be possible or feasible to create in Autodesk Fusion. And that's because people use a mix of different softwares to create some of these designs. Autodesk Fusion is a really great engineering software for creating functional household items. Like if you need to create like a bracket for a closet rod, or you need to create a tripod for a camera, something like that. If you want to create like a Triceratops skull replica, like you see right here, Autodesk Fusion is not going to be the tool for that. You're going to want to use something like Blender, which is technically not a CAD software. It is more of a 3D graphics software. And the difference is CAD, once again, stands for computer aided design. And CAD software is a very precise software where you can set the exact distance and dimensions between all of the measurements in your design. You'll see what I'm talking about when we get into it a little bit. But CAD software is mathematically based. All of the lines and the curves and the elements have set distances mathematically. Whereas Blender, like a 3D graphics software, is more like a grab and drag, and it's almost like sculpting clay a little bit. So if you wanted to create something fancy like an owl or a Triceratops skull, then you would want to use something like Blender. And Blender is also free and open source. Here's what it looks like. Blender is a very powerful software, and we're not going to get into it today, but it is great for creating any sort of complex organic, they call it, things like living things in particular. Blender is going to be your friend for that. And also keep in mind that sometimes people are using LiDAR, like lasers, to scan real objects. Like maybe if you ever see like a hand 3D printed or something like that, there's a good chance somebody used a laser to scan that hand and create it. But Autodesk Fusion is going to work great for like this decorative fruit fly trap, this joystick keycap, this ultimate candy machine, this satisfying fabric. That does look satisfying. I don't know what you use that for, but it looks cool. These tweezers. So it is going to work great for the majority of functional items. USB cable organizer, but we're going to go back to this F1 logo and just download let's just download the STL CAD files. Let's see what that does. Okay. We got 4 STLs right here. Okay, so it's a 4-piece design. No, it looks like, we got V1 and V2. So version 1, version 2. We're going to download version 2. Why not? Please log in to download models. Oh, great. Okay. We'll be right back in a second. All right, we're back. I logged in. So I guess step 1, step 0 that I skipped, log in to your favorite 3D printing software. Okay, we're going to download V2. Just throw it right here in my downloads, the STL file. Okay, and now we're going to open Autodesk Fusion. All right, so we're opening Autodesk Fusion. The very first time you open Autodesk Fusion, you might end up with a few different screens. It might ask you some questions for setup and everything, but henceforth and forever after you open it the first time, you're going to see this screen. It's going to open a brand new untitled design. If for some reason you ended up on the home page over here, just come back and click on this tab for your new untitled design. So this is what a blank canvas looks like. And you can create multiple designs at once. And if you're creating a new design, in this case, let's just go with a part design. The difference is that parts are for simple, like single objects, and assembly is where you would import multiple parts, so multiple kind of standalone pieces, and assemble them together. And then hybrid is just a combination of those two. I haven't really used hybrid. That's actually relatively new on Fusion. They do a good job of updating it frequently, whether that's for better or for worse. But we're just going to go to part design, create new. And I actually want to open up and import those STLs that I just created. One easy way to do it, and I'll just show you here real quick. I don't want you to be overwhelmed, but you have multiple tabs up here. And then you also have multiple functions within Fusion over here on the drop down. And we're just going to stay within design the whole time, and we're just going to stay within solid the whole time. So if you don't want to be overwhelmed, just design and solid. This is all you need for right now to get started. But we're going to go insert, and we'll do insert mesh. And the nice thing about Fusion, it has really good tooltips that pop up. So you can see right here on the left, it tells you that this is good for inserting an existing STL or 3MF file. We downloaded some STLs, so that's what we want to insert. And we'll go select from my computer, because we didn't save these on the cloud. And let's just start with the F1 logo. We're going to open it up. And over here, we get all the options for the tool. Like we could change the units that we're importing in. Let's just hit OK. That's going to finish importing this. And not sure if you know this, but the way an STL file works is it's just composed of a bunch of little triangles. So you can see all the triangle faces right here. And that is okay. We can leave the triangles there for now, and that'll be fine. But what we want to do is just recreate this design over here in our other Untitled tab. That's what I want to show you how to do, because I think the best way to start is just recreate some simple designs that somebody else has made if you can't think of any ideas on your own. If you can think of ideas, then go ahead. You don't need to copy somebody else, but it's totally okay too if you want. All right, so this is going to be fairly simple, and I will show you how we can do this. So we're over here, design, solid tab, and the way you start in CAD is you create a sketch. And a sketch is going to be a two-dimensional drawing, essentially, of what you want to create, and then you can create 3D geometry from there. But let's just create a sketch, and it's going to ask you which plane you want to start that sketch on. And also, I'll just go back a little bit. Your Fusion probably looks slightly different from mine, and that doesn't matter. That's okay. But if you want it to look the same, then you can come over here to the person icon where you're signed in and go to preferences. And one of the biggest things that I did was remove the grid that sits behind. Yeah, if I can even find it. Okay, so I was looking around for a little bit to find everything, but if you want your controls to exactly match mine, then you'll just go into preferences, general, and the shortcuts for pan, zoom, and orbit. That's going to be how you move in and out from your part, how you drag the screen around, and everything. There are certain defaults. It's surely going to be set on Fusion when you first open this up. I actually really like the SolidWorks controls. That's what I learned on first. SolidWorks is kind of an industry standard, so it's a very popular option. If you want to be using the exact same controls as me, just select this to SolidWorks, and that should be great. I am also an inches guy. I live in the United States, grew up in the United States, so I prefer inches over millimeters for most of my designs, and you'll just set that over here in your default units for design, and I'm just set to inches. So just hit apply when you're happy with the settings. I'm just going to cancel it because I don't want to change anything. And then lastly, there's a grid. So down here you have a few controls, but there's a grid, layout grid. Yeah, when you first open Fusion, you kind of get this grid that shows up in the background. I don't really like it, so I just uncheck it. I'd rather just have a blank background. So if you want your Fusion to look like mine, that should get you most of the way there. Okay, now that we're here, we're going to create that sketch that I was telling you about. So you've got a plane for like dividing top and bottom of the space. You have one for front and back and one for right and left. It really doesn't matter which one you start with because this is an unoriented 3D space. We haven't done anything to it yet. And so it's kind of like being in outer space. There's no up or down. There's no left or right really. But I'm just going to pick the top and bottom screen because I can imagine this F1 logo kind of like sitting on my desk and I would be looking down on it from above. Okay, so once we are in a sketch, you get this new tab over here. We still have the solid tab and everything else that was available before, but now we have a sketch tab and we are in a sketch and there's a sketch palette over here on the right. And it's possible that you might have this sketch grid enabled. Once again, I prefer just the white background, so I turn it off. You might also have snap enabled, which will make it so that your points that you create will like snap to this grid. I also don't like that. Up to you. You'll learn over time, but if you want to copy me, just uncheck those. Okay, so this F1 logo, let's come back and look at it. Well, it has 3 chunks of material, and one of them looks like an obtuse angle with a rectangle on the bottom. The second one is just a miniature version of that same thing. And then I guess another obtuse angle. Yeah, I don't know. I've never looked at the F1 logo that closely, so this is interesting. But let's just copy what we see. And the easiest way to do this is to grab the line tool. Under here, under Create, you're going to see all the different 2D sketch tools. You can create a rectangle, a circle, an arc, a spline, which is like a fancy curvy line. You can create just a single point, some text. Let's start with line. That's the easiest thing. To create a line, you select the line tool. There's also a shortcut up here. And you click one time to place the first point of your line, and you click a second time to place the second point of your line. And then Fusion thinks that maybe you want to keep like drawing stuff, so it's just going to continually let you keep placing lines. And when you're done, you can either hit the escape key and that will exit out of the line tool, or you can hit this green check mark right here and it'll finish building the lines. And if you messed up or you want to get rid of something, right now you can see I'm still in the line tool. So if I try to click on something, I'm gonna be like, oh no, I'm still building a line. And that can be a little bit overwhelming. But if you hit escape enough times, I hit it a couple times on my keyboard, then eventually you'll unselect it and you'll know because it won't be highlighted over here. So it's selected. If I hit escape, now it's unselected. You also get a little hint right around your cursor. You can see this line icon. And if I were to, I'm going to hit escape now. If I were to do like a circle or something, there'd be the circle icon right here. So I'm just going to hit escape to unselect the tool. And now let's say I wasn't happy with this, which I'm not. So I can drag over to select the whole thing and then hit the delete key on my keyboard. Or I can, let's go back, or I can just select one individual line and hit delete. This is kind of how things work. And also, once I place a line, it's not fixed forever. I can actually drag it around. I can grab a point and drag it. If I want this point to stay exactly on the center, I can drag it and drop it. And now it's fixed in place on that origin. So this is kind of the basics. You can just sit and play around with this. But I'm just going to delete all this because I didn't like that. And I will just warn you a little bit. CAD software is a little bit frustrating the first time. And that's normal. Don't get discouraged. You might just have to do some quick Google searches to figure out like how to do the exact thing. Like sometimes you don't know that you have the line tool selected and you're trying to like drag something around the screen and it's just creating more lines. Just quick Google search, figure out what you need. I also realize I may have skipped over this real quick, but when you're in the SolidWorks controls, if you remember, we went over to preferences and we set that up. The way that you zoom in and out is just with your basic scroll wheel. I'm just scrolling it in and out. And then if I click in the scroll wheel, it brings up this orbit symbol. And now when I move my mouse around the screen, you can see how I'm just like orbiting in 3D space. I get that rotation in all three rotational axes going on. And then if I hold the control key and then do the orbits, like I click in the mouse wheel, then it'll allow me to drag without rotating. All of these tools are available down here. If I click on orbit, now I can just click to orbit. If I click on pan, I can click to pan. If I click on look at, and then I don't know what that does. Okay, yeah, not gonna go there. So I will say, if you're gonna do CAD software, you need a mouse. It's gonna be terrible without a mouse because you're gonna have to use this thing down here with the touchpad. It's so much quicker to learn the hotkeys. Also, escape is gonna be your best friend. That's how you unselect any tool. Okay, coming back here, let's create this F1 symbol. We're gonna grab the line tool. I would recommend always starting on the origin. And the reason is so that you have a defined start point for your design. But I'm just kind of going off memory here, but I remember there was a straight horizontal line, then there was a straight vertical line, and then I'm gonna hit this check mark to finish. It looks like there's a curved line now. Nope, there's still a straight line. Yeah, okay. There's still a straight line right here. Then there's a curved line. This curve right here. Okay, followed by, great. So 3-point arc. Also, don't worry yet that your points aren't exactly where you want them. You know, I'll make it a little bit ugly and show you that you can recover from misplaced points. Okay, and then we're going horizontal. I gotta look at this design. Sorry, I guess I don't watch F1 enough to know how to design this thing on my own. Okay, arc, 3-point arc. Great, we're just kind of placing stuff. I'm hitting escape always to deselect my tool. And great, that's pretty close, right? That looks like this thing. You might think this looks terrible. I did this kind of on purpose so you could see that you don't have to get everything perfect the first time. And I will point out something really important. Some of these lines are black and some of them are blue. That's because black and blue have different meanings. The black means that the line is fully constrained. And if I try to drag it, at least the part that is black, it won't let me drag it. And that's because I have mathematically constrained this line, because I've told Fusion that this point needs to stay on the origin. And I also, when I was creating the line, I made it perfectly horizontal. And so it created this horizontal constraint down here, which says I want this line to always be perfectly horizontal. And if that was a mistake, I can click on this constraint icon and hit delete. And now it'll allow me to drag the line to a position other than horizontal. But I probably did want it horizontal, so I'm going to reselect it. And over here, there's a drop-down menu for all the different constraints. One is horizontal, vertical, and if you hover over each of these, it will tell you exactly what they do. I'm not going to go through all of them, but let's click horizontal, vertical. It's going to snap to the nearest thing, which is horizontal. And now I want this line to be perfectly vertical, so I'm going to click on the same constraint. Okay. And if you saw when I clicked on this, I got a little error. Sketch geometry is over constrained. That's because right here I have a perpendicularity constraint. Basically, these constraints are just going to hover around the geometry you've created. And if you don't see them, then it's because you need to check this box over here. But yeah, I have a perpendicularity constraint, which means that this line and this line have to be perpendicular to each other. And since this one is horizontal, this one has to be perfectly vertical. Okay, this one over here obviously is missing that constraint. So let's click on it and we'll go horizontal, vertical. And now I want both of these lines, and you'll see it turned black now. Oh, and the reason it's getting all upset with me is because I didn't hit escape, so I still have the tool selected for horizontal and vertical constraints. So now I hit escape and I can now drag stuff, and you'll see that the black part of this can no longer be dragged. Now we want these two lines to be the same length, right? Because we want this to be a perfect little rectangle down there. So I can select one point, I hold Control, select the second point, and I want both of these points to be horizontal to each other. So I click on the horizontal vertical tool. Great, now you can see that if I drag one of these lines, it drags the other one, and you can see the constraint symbol shows up on both of these, and when I click one constraint symbol, it shows up, it highlights both of them. That shows that they are in fact the same constraint. Okay, great. Now this line right here can be dragged to any angle that I want, but more than likely, you know, not more than likely, but for sure, I don't want this angle to just go anywhere. I mean, it could end up in some really weird spots, and this is not going to look good. So I am just creating this by eyeballing the F1 logo, and it looks like this angle. It's obviously, so when I'm talking about this angle, I'm saying the angle between this edge right here and this edge right here. It's obviously more than 90, and it looks to be about like 90 plus 45. So let's do that. We're going to now use the dimension tool, which is down here in Create. It's at the very bottom, sketch dimensions. This is where you would set lengths or angles. And I click on one line and then the other, and now you'll see it allows me to place a dimension call out. And this is in degrees, and we said we want to do 90 plus 45. I hit enter, and lo and behold, 90 plus 45 is 135. So we now have this angle defined here, and if I hit escape, I'll deselect my tool, we'll see that I can no longer change that angle to be whatever it wants. It's fixed at 135, which is what we want. And we know that we want this angle to be parallel to that one, so I can select one line, select the other, and come over to my constraints, and there's a parallel constraint. Now both of these lines are forever parallel to each other, and we're getting closer to the F1 logo. All right, so some weird stuff happened over here with this circular arc. If it ever gets too out of control, just select the arc and delete it and draw a new one. But I'm gonna undo that just so you can see some ways to fix this. What we want is for this to be a nice, continuous, pretty curve. And I need a constraint for that, and it's called the tangent constraint, which means this line will continuously flow into this arc. So I'm going to select the tangent constraint, and now I have the tool selected. You can see it right here. The symbol is right below my cursor, and I select the one thing that I want to be tangent and then the thing that I want it to be tangent to. Okay, this is a great example. It made them tangent, but not in the direction that I wanted. And what that means, I deselected the tool, is that it's forever kind of stuck in this weird orientation where it loops back on itself, and it's gonna be hard to fix this without, I mean, I either have to delete that constraint or I can just delete the whole arc, and I'm gonna do that. That'll be easier. And now I can come back to create, do an arc, and select, I could do a tangent arc, which is automatically going to make it tangent, but I'll just start with a simple 3-point arc to show you how that works. I click on the start and the end point, and then where I want the curvature to be. So I put it there. Now I hit escape to deselect the tool. I come to tangent and select 1, 2 things, and great. It ended up in the orientation that I wanted. Now you can see that no matter how I drag this line always perfectly flows into that curve. We also want these two to flow together well, so we're going to come back to tangent, select the curve, select the line, and great. Now we have a good continuous flow of line to arc. Let's, while we're here, just do the same thing. I select one line, hold Control, select the other. They're both highlighted in that deep blue color, and select tangent. Cool, this is looking good. Well, it's getting closer at least. Okay. We want to end up with this shape right here. And we're almost there. We're going to come back to, I don't want this to just randomly drag back and forth on how wide it is. So we're going to go back to our dimension tool, and I want to set a distance between 2 points. So I click on one line and the other, and it automatically knows that I want to set a distance. This is pretty close right now to 1/2 inch, so I'm just going to make it 1/2 inch, type 0.5, hit enter. And I just want to make the whole thing, it looks like it kind of has uniform thickness throughout. I want to make the whole thing 1/2 inch thick. So click on this line and this line, and it automatically knows that I want the distance between them. Over constrain the sketch. Okay, so that means that I have some other geometry to find in here that's already, okay, making sure they remain that far apart. And that is because these two lines have to be 1/2 inch apart, and these two lines have to be parallel and at a 135-degree angle. So in fact, you'll see no matter how I drag this, I actually can't change the distance between these. So I don't need that dimension there. The same thing does not apply up here. So if I want to make this 1/2 inch thick, we go to our dimension, click on one end, click on the other, 0.5, enter. Whoa, that's interesting. Okay, so okay. All right, so we got 1/2 inch thick and 1/2 inch thick, and this is looking a little funky to me for some reason, but let's see what we can fix. Sometimes it's just a constraint that needs to be there. I know that we want this point and this point to always stay vertical with each other, basically like the end of this line and the end of this line. So I go back to vertical constraints, click on both of the points. Now these are fixed in space. I see what's going on. So this curve can change to be like any sort of radius or diameter, however you want to look at it. I think we want both of these to be similar to each other, and also just so that we can narrow down what our undefined constraints are, I'm going to use the dimension tool and set a length up here. Let's go 0.25, because we know from this example that that little rectangle down there is pretty small. So we got 0.25. Oh goodness. If you ever hit the wrong key and you end up in a weird spot, there's a view cube right here, and you can just click on the orientation that you want to be in. Okay, so we're back, and we need to define the angle right here and then the length of this segment. And looking at this, okay. And the point of this exercise is not to perfectly recreate the F1 symbol. It's just to have a target in mind as I am learning the CAD software. So I'll show you what it looks like to add this dimension. Let's go 135 again. Why not? That looks great. And so now I can grab the blue lines and figure out what is still unconstrained. And it looks like it has to do with these curves right here, these arcs. Just for fun, I'm going to delete this vertical constraint, and I want to see what happens. Okay, so now the curves can can move around freely. These points right here are the centers of these arcs. I want to try something, which is I want to put these two centers right on top of each other. So I'm going to select one, hold Control, select the other, come over to Constraints and do Coincident, which makes 2 points lie on top of each other. Oops, when I click that. Okay, so that is not going to work. It failed to solve. Please try resolving dimensions or constraints. Okay, let's just finish this up real quick. I'm going to add the vertical constraint back in. And it looks like the whole height of this thing is adjustable. So I'm going to add a dimension that goes from the base of my F1 logo to the tip of my F1 logo. Let's make it, I don't know, 2 inches. No. Let's go 1.5. Okay. And now you can see there are only a few lines that are still light blue geometry, and it looks like it's the length of this F1 thing. And I would say that looks pretty close to the one, the example that I was looking at. So I can set distance from this point, the origin, over to this point. And you'll notice that if I'm at the diagonal, it'll assume I want a diagonal distance. And if I come above it, it'll assume I want a horizontal distance. So sure, let's do 4.25 inches. Hit enter. Okay. I hit escape to deselect the dimension tool. And now, okay, so this is the last thing, is the width of this arc. And just gonna drag it to what I think looks similar, because I'm just trying to copy this. And let's go about there. Why not? And we'll come to our dimension tool, and essentially we need to set, there are a few ways we could do this, but let's set a horizontal distance for the length of that arc, and let's go 0.4 inches, hit enter, and great, everything turns black. I can no longer drag anything, and if I hit finish sketch, we now created this sketch of part of the F1 logo. And what we want to do is over here in the solid tab, hit extrude, which means it will add depth to a sketch profile. Let's click on it. To select the sketch profile, it auto selects it because that's the only one that exists and it assumes I want to use that. But over here on the select button, I click the sketch and then this arrow appears, and I basically can just drag it to the height that I want, or I can type in a number. So let's say we want 1/4 inch. We're going to go 0.25, hit enter, and it closed the pop-up tab right there. But that would be the first part of this F1 logo. It doesn't look exactly like it, clearly not. But that was kind of a start. And if I ever wanted to go back and change any of the things that I made, you have your history of timelines down here. Sorry, your timeline of history down here. And I can right click on this feature, hit edit feature, and now it'll let me in this dialog box. Say I wanted to make it a little thicker, maybe I wanted 0.3 inches. I could change it, hit OK. If I wanted to edit the sketch, I'm gonna right click, edit sketch, and voila, I'm back here. I can change any of the things. Looks like in reality this probably should be, oh, and I can double click on a dimension to edit it. Let's try 0.75. Okay, I didn't like that because it's interfering with another dimension. But anyway, these are the things that you'll learn if you just open the CAD software and you start playing with it. Just try to copy something super simple. And if you get stuck on something or you want help, please leave a comment below, and I can create a video addressing some common difficulties and concerns with CAD software. But when you're happy with your thing, with your file, you're just going to come over here, hit save, and if you're ready to 3D print it, underneath file, click 3D print, select the body or the part of your design that you want to print, hit OK, and then it's going to ask you where you want to save your 3MF file. Yeah, I think it used to have STL in here, but 3MF is better in my opinion anyway. So you could save it to your desktop and then from there use it. All of this is to show that today you can start learning CAD, today you can start creating, and you don't need anybody's permission, and you don't need to spend a lot of money, and there are resources everywhere that can help you. And I don't want you to feel overwhelmed because there are millions of resources. So the best thing you can do, rather than just looking up a ton of YouTube videos right now on how to do CAD, is just download the software, try to do something, and you'll figure out where you're stuck and where you need help. And that's where you can search a really specific thing, find a very specific YouTube video. Like, I'm stuck, I'm frustrated with this one thing, and this is what I need an answer to. This is what I need help with. And as you can see, I am an engineer who does CAD quite frequently, and sometimes I'm still figuring things out in the CAD software or with the design. So it is normal to not know what all of the buttons do all the time and to struggle a little bit with creating a design. So just start. Just download the CAD software, open it up, and create just the simplest thing. Maybe just like a circular rod, and go print it and enjoy being a creator. And you're just going to continue to get better and better and learn more and more. And it's going to be so much fun and bring so much joy to your life to begin creating and feel that empowerment that comes from creating new things. So download that CAD software today and start. And leave a comment below letting us know what your first design is going to be or was if you created it already. Can't wait to see it. And until next time, have a good one.